A Shalom Markins of Akam Akaposh from GMS London, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Chadash. Want to give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and Shalom out there to the hopeful elect, pushing this truth in all sincerity. Back again with another video. And I got this article here that was posted up in the chat, right, from the People's Voice, right? And they got it entitled NASA scientist, right? So supposedly a credible individual, right, that sees things supposedly and knows things, right? Which we take all these accounts with a grain of salt, man, because there's a lot of these guys that just to sell stories, but it's interesting nonetheless, right? So it's entitled NASA scientist saw 7-foot tall aliens. Right? He said he saw them, right? He saw them with his naked eye. He saw them, right? It said they're tall, black, and look like African Americans. Okay, so interesting talking point. Like, we know aliens don't exist, but angels do exist, right? And what these people that supposedly observe celestial events, aircrafts and all these different types of things, UFOs and all these different types of things, they're really the angels, going about their business in the earth and outside the earth and whatever, right? So these unidentified flying objects and so-called quote-unquote aliens or whatever are really angels, right? That people come in contact with or whatever, right? And so it's no surprise in understanding this that these angels are like tall and black, so-called black. It's no surprise to us, right? Because we know that the angels are, or can be, are in humanoid fashion, and that they are, or we are, should I say, made in their image, right? Because we know the Most High has a form. He has a human form. He sits on a throne, right? He has white woolly hair, right? We know the Bible describes the Lord and the things in this, certain things in the spirit realm. And we know His Son, Yahweh Shai, who the world equally calls Jesus Christ, looks exactly like Him, right? And so it's no wonder that the angels also have similar appearances. They have humanoid bodies, right? But there are cases where the angels appear differently, that are mentioned in the scriptures, whether they be symbolic or whatever, right? They have forms because they can alter their form, right? And whatever they want, really, right? Such as the mastery of their powers, right? So yeah, the angels are spooky, right? People want to believe in aliens, but angels are far spookier because aliens you can devise that these things, if they attack, that you could kill them, right? Because they're living organisms, right? Except for the angels are not organisms; they're spiritual beings, right? And there's no way to attack or destroy the spirit, right? These are beings of immense power, right? You can't cause harm to them. So yeah, the angels are way spookier, and spookier than any sci-fi thing that these men can come up with, right? But it's interesting how he's described them as 7 foot tall black African Americans, right? Because they are kindred, right? From the same source, right? And that part of it, to some extent, is true, right? Right? Because they are going to be coming back looking dark, right? And it's going to shock the world. Just like when the guy, he dropped this, it shocked people, right? Well, it's really going to shock the world when Yahweh Shai returns, and he's a dark skinned man, white woolly hair, and he's coming with an army of angels, also looking dark skinned. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be a shock to the world when that time happens. All right, let's read some of this. See what the guy is saying, right? Like I said, he's meant to be a credible dude, supposedly, right? But we know how these things work, right? Excuse me, right? It says a former NASA research scientist has come forward with claims of an alien landing at a U.S. Air Force base, right? And what he describes is unlike anything we've ever been told. And, it's not the first time we've heard something like this, so, the man must not be in the loop, right? But it says Dr. Norman Berggruen, a respected aerospace engineer, has broken decades of silence to detail an astonishing encounter involving what he describes as a mile-long spacecraft and hundreds of extraterrestrial beings. Right? So, according to Bergrund, the incident occurred during a classified military operation, details of which have been buried under layers of national security for decades. The ship, he alleges, touched down on US soil at a remote Air Force installation where witnesses, now either deceased or sworn to secrecy, were stunned by what unfolded. So Bergeron describes the beings that exited the craft as a black race of extraterrestrials around 7 feet tall, muscular, and with the bearing of a warrior class, right? And we know, the angels, they do damage, right? They are the army of the Heavenly Father, right? So they had a look of conquerors who had never been conquered, right? Well, yeah, the angels never been defeated. Our forefather Jacob wrestled one to a draw, but he never been defeated, right? Undefeated, right? So, as he'd never been defeated, he stated in a rare interview, there was a kind of arrogance in their walk, right? Because they know, bro, they just know, like, the angels, bro. Like, what you gonna do in it? I mean, I'm a messenger from the Heavenly Father. Like, you man are the wicked, bro, man. Angels are coming down to mess up your shit, So it's like, yeah, right? So there was a kind of arrogance in their walk. These were not grays, actually. And they're talking about all these other alien classes that they believe exist and they say they've met. And it's funny how these things are always like, oh, yeah, after 10 years or years, decades of silence, this guy speaks out. Why now? You know what I mean? Why now? But, and these men need attention too, I guess. But, like I said, the angels are real, right? So it says these were not grays, not little green men. These were beings of power, right? The angels are beings of power, right? They are beings of power, right? It says the shocking racial specificity, oh, however we say that, fuck it, right, of Bergman's account has raised eyebrows and sparked heated debate in the UFO circles, right, the unidentified flying object circles, right, with some speculating that the US government has long been aware of multiple extraterrestrial races, some possibly more humanoid than others. Berggrund is no fringe crank, right? Conspiracy first, right? Nutcase, whatever, right? He's no fringe crank, a pioneer in spacecraft engineering and fluid systems, right? So he's meant to be an intelligent, smart, capable man, right? About science, right? And it says, and fluid system controls, he played key roles at Lockheed Martin and NASA's Ames Research Center. His work in roll stability laws helped stabilize early missile systems, and he was instrumental in the thermal ice prevention design still in use today. Okay, he wrote a book in 1986, book Ringmakers of Saturn, stunned the community with its assertion that massive cylindrical UFOs were harvested material from Saturn's rings. Even decades later, images from Cassini and Voyager seem to support the possibility of artificial megastructures lurking in Saturnian orbit. All right. So some in the truth movement believe this black race of extraterrestrials may tie into ancient astronaut theories, right? Which I'm not clued out about, maybe I'll read about it sometime, but said that powerful non-human beings once ruled Earth and could be returning, right? Yeah, the men of the Lord are returning to power, right? The ancient men, right? Because the angels, by the power of Yahweh Shem Shai, right, were given the blueprints and the power to build everything you see, right? Yahweh Shai and the angels were charged with creating all that is around us, the earth and everything in it and outside of it, right? So these are the, I guess, creators or owners of the universe, right? Headed by the Most High. That's what you're gonna come to understand, right? And the Lord has a chosen people, which are not those goofy ass small hats in the land of Israel today, but the Lord has an actual chosen people who are being promised to rule over the earth and might as well say the rest of all that's been created. In fairness, right? Yeah, and we're making a comeback, right? And then the Lord's going to send Yahweh Shai and the angels to come and destroy you, man. Right? So yeah, they are going to return, right? So as Bergman put it, these weren't visitors, right? These were rulers. They hadn't come back to negotiate, right? So when Yahweh Shai comes, yeah, there's not going to be no talking, right? There ain't going to be negotiations. No deals being made, and we're gonna divide up the planet. You're gonna have this place, and we're gonna have this place, and this. You're gonna have that, and no, there ain't gonna be none of that. Everyone's getting taken down. All right, everyone's getting taken down. Yahushua is gonna establish his kingdom with his brethren, the Israelites. Okay, all you Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and those of us that are scattered around the earth. Okay, of the elect. Okay, we're gonna set up our government and rule over the earth, and whatever else is out there for us. All right, but starting here, right, and Yahushua and the angels are going to make their return soon, as you see the things going on in the earth right now, and the prophecies, man. All right, so you're gonna see these. Everyone's gonna see these, these things, these unidentified flying objects and angels who you call aliens right now. All right, everyone's gonna get to see that firsthand, right, and it's gonna bug the shit out of people, man. It's gonna bug them out. Right, because you are gonna see dark beings come out of those ships with white robes and stuff, man. Right, you're gonna be bugging out. Right, so let's start with and get these scriptures. Right, so Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5 verse 1 says, "Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors." Right, that's you Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, and you Hispanics, right? Okay. For many years now, right? The world is down upon us, right? Right, because Esau bad mouths us and he shits on us basically. He's made us into buyers and provers, right? So the whole world looks at us and disrespectfully. All right. So it says they should stand in boldness before the face of such as have afflicted them and made no account of his labors. Right, we're not respected in this world, right? So when they see it, they should be troubled with terrible fear, right? Yeah, because the angels are actually terrible, especially when they're not coming in peace, especially when they're not for you. All right, when they're for you, man, they're intimidating to say the least, right? They're not, and I'm gonna get some accounts in the scriptures, but they're obviously formidable, intimidating beings, right? Because they are just filled with power, right? So, but they're for us, and so we're not concerned or afraid of them in the same type of way, right? Because when these angels come, look, they're going to be coming to destroy your world, right? And nothing's going to stop them. Nothing can stop them. All right, but for us, they're going to save us. They're going to be sent out to deliver us from all these different places that we've been scattered throughout the earth and been brought to Yahweh Shai. Okay, who's going to deliver us from the destruction? All right, but for everybody else, they're part of your judgment, right? To hand that judgment, right? So again, so when they see it, they should be troubled with terrible fear and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, of our salvation, right? And who we're being saved by, how we're being saved, right? Because going by, what you people believe in right now, what you're going to be witnessing is UFOs all over the earth beaming up, so-called black people, not just, black people, so-called black people, because Israel come in different shades and whatever, right? But all over the earth, Jacob be getting beamed up into these chariots while everyone else is perishing, man. So it's gonna bug people out that this is all happening, right? But like these dudes that are making these statements, some of what they say is partially true. All right. This is so they should be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation so far beyond all that they looked for. And they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit shall say within themselves, this was he whom we had sometimes in derision and a proverb of reproach. He fools account his life madness and his end to be without honor. How is he numbered among the children of God and his lot among the saints? Right? So we know the men of the Lord, the elect, are going to be beamed up with the angels into Yahushua's chariot in his fathership, right? Where everybody else is, getting judged by the destruction. All right. Okay. But just on these aspects of the appearances of angels, right? They're not, how the Renaissance art will show you, like the fucking cupids, baby angels just floating around, and they're protecting you and making you fall in love and shit. You know what I mean? Like, the angels, their appearance can be frightening, right? Intimidating, right? And then, they had to kind of address the fact that they came in peace, man. Because like you'd be like, oh shit, what? Who is this dude, man? What's he coming here for? Like, he's like, there's aura in it, and it's like, oh, it's intimidating. But I've got this account here from Judges chapter 13, right? And let me see. All right, I believe, yeah, this is parents of Samson, if I'm correct, right? His mother Manoah, right? But reading from verse 5, right? It says, "For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head. For the child shall be a Nazarite unto God from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines. Then the woman came and told her husband, saying, A man of God came unto me, and his countenance was like the countenance of an angel, right? Of God. Very terrible." Right, so this whole soft image that we got of God and angels and the Son of God, it's not really true, right? Yeah, there's aspects of them and sides to them that you could say is softer than others. Yeah, sure. The mercy and the kindness and the all these different things, but there is a side to the Most High and and His creation that don't really ever get looked at, never thought about, right? Because you have to remember, the Most High is the cause of death. Not the cause of death. I don't say it that way, right? But He's the one that brings judgment to put people to death, right? For their wickedness, for their sins, right? And so whatever crazy accidents, quote unquote accidents, right? That you see on the internet, you see in real life or whatever, man, the Most High was the orchestrator of that, and the angels are the ones out there to execute that judgment. So there's the dark side to the Lord in terms of it can be gruesome, man. The Lord can be gruesome. Scripture tells you the Lord is terrible. All right, so there is that side of the Lord, man. Like, you don't really want to fuck around because you will find out, right? And it won't necessarily be pretty, man. Like, the Most High can make you go out in a multitude of different ways. All right, so you don't really want to be on that list where the Most High got something grievous planned for you. You know what I'm saying? So there's that aspect of the Most High that no one ever really, talks about or thinks upon. They don't even think it exists. All these fucking Christians, man, because they don't know the Lord, right? But the angels, when they come, a lot of them came and people were scared, right, for one reason or another, right? So she even said his countenance was like an angel of God, very terrible. But I asked him not whence he was, neither told he me his name. All right. So yeah, man, the angels, man, yeah, you feel uneasy, right? You can feel uneasy at times, being around certain of them. All right, some of them are rough, man. Man, ain't about the pleasantries and all these different types of things, right? Some are more, conversational. Who was Ezra going back and forth? Was it Raphael? They were going back in conversation. Some men don't want to talk too much. You know what I mean? Man, I got that stern spirit, bro. You're like, yeah, this guy makes me feel uncomfortable. But yeah, some of the angels come like that, man. So yeah. So in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 1 says chapter 7. Let's start from 6, right? Seeing it is a righteous thing with the Most High to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. And to you who are troubled, rest with us when the Lord Yahushua shall be revealed from heaven with his mighty angels, right? So, like I said, the guy was describing, these beings were beings of power, right? He said that, hundreds of them were on this ship that was a mile long or whatever, right? Which ain't really nothing, but these are beings of power for sure, right? Angels are beings of power, mighty angels, right? And Yahushua is going to come with a whole host of them, right? And one is enough to destroy the earth, right? So when Yahushua is coming with that many men, it's like, oh shit. It's just a show of force. The Most High is showing his glory, his power. Ultimately, he don't need all those men. He knows this. Obviously, we all know this, right? When I say one would be enough. One would be overkill. But the Most High is about to show himself to the world, show his power and his Son to the world, right? So it's undisputable. It'd be undisputable that Yahushua is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Like, there is no power that is even coming close to, rivaling the Most High and his Son. So you might as well just stop now. Just stop. Because you're weak as hell. Right? You're worms. Right? And that's why in the kingdom there's going to be no need for war. Because like when you have a perfect race with power like that, like control is nothing. Right? To settle disputes is nothing. Right? And everybody's is gonna respect the power enough and fear the power enough not to overstep. It just keeps things in order. Power, is needed to create order. And the Most High, Yahushua, the angels have it in abundance. So it's like, once the world has seen all of that, it's like, what are you even doing here? Like, it's not a perceivable thing. Like, oh yeah, if we train, for infinity, like, we're even gonna come close to it. No, you're not. Even if you had infinity time, would you be able to gather that power to rival, Yahushua and the angels? So it's like, you might as well just stop. So that's why there's going to be no wars in the kingdom, man, because it's just stupid. Pointless. Right? So yeah, they are beings of power, right? I mentioned this earlier from Genesis, right? It says, Genesis 1 verse 26, and God said, let us make man in our image. Now God here, he's talking about the angels, the Elohim, right? It says here, because, you're going to see that the word is plural, meaning many gods, which is talking about the angels, right? Who are tasked and assigned to create these things, right? By the Most High. And God said, let us make man in our image, right? After our likeness, right? After our appearing, right? And let us them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female, he created he them. Right, so we have the appearance of humanoids. The term humans from we have this idea of being humanoid, right? Having hands and fingers and feet and toes and all that kind of shit, heads, bodies, torso, legs, all that shit. Right, we're not imaged after a dog, that has 4 legs, right? With no usable fingers and posable thumbs and that kind of shit. So the image of the Heavenly Father and the angels are of a humanoid fashion. Okay, but like I said, we know they can alter their appearing, right? Because they have the power to do that. All right, but generally speaking, they're of a humanoid fashion, right? So them being 7 foot tall and being black ain't really crazy, right? Especially when you know the scriptures. All right, I mean they can increase their height. They can do whatever. They have the power to have complete mastery of the elements. So it's like, they can do whatever they want with their body. But generally speaking, we bear the image of the heavenly in that sense, right? But we're going to be perfected, as we know, when Yahushua returns. Okay, we're going to be, raised in corruption and in glory and power, right? We're going to be like unto him, right? But yeah, so, we behold that image, right? Daniel 7 verse 18 says, but the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever, right? So like I said, they're not here to negotiate. The angels are here to conquer, right? To put down nations, right? So let me read Revelation 19, right? Because this is what it tells you, right? starting from verse 11, it says, "And I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war." This is Yahweh Shai coming with his chariot, okay, coming with the mighty angels, right? So these eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. Okay, the many crowns represents the downfall, the downfall of these other nations that possess power in the earth, that are being ruled by their governments, their leaders, or whatever. The Most High is going to take power away from them. He's going to become their ruler, right? And so they're going into captivity. And yeah, the name written that no man knew but he himself, and he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God. And the armies, okay, which is the angels, right, which were in heaven, followed him upon white horses, clothed in white linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress and of the fizz of the wrath of the Almighty power, Yahweh. Right? So like I said, they're not coming to negotiate, they're coming to establish their rule and authority over all peoples, right? With rigor, right? With harshness, with severity. That's what the rod of iron represents. Right? He's coming with fierceness and wrath. Right? So again, that soft side that you keep pushing about the Lord and his son and that kind of stuff is not going to be present here. Right? Because like I said, you're ignoring other aspects of the Lord. Right? And probably not more importantly, but it's, it has to be balanced, isn't it? But especially when the Lord's coming back this time, the Lord is coming with great wrath and fury, man. Right? And then this is why these Christians don't really fear the Most High or his son. Because they in their mind, when they think about him, it's just some all-loving dude, bro. But that's not that's not who you're going to see when he comes. Right? You're going to see full of wrath and anger. Right? He's going to be scary. Yahweh Shai, who you can call Jesus Christ, is going to be scary. Right? And the angels are going to be scary right behind him. Right? They're all going to be looking scary. Michael, Gabriel, all of them looking scary. Right? not looking like Cupid. You know what I mean? They're gonna come looking scary, right? Because they're gonna be doing a lot of damage, man. All right. And he have on his vesture and on his fire name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords, right? That's what he's coming to establish, and he's gonna make it known to the whole world, man, that this is what it is. And you people are not even coming close to being on this level. So it's like, I am the King of Kings and Lord of Lords forever. That's it. Right? The Most High have given me rulership over you mans. Right? And everyone's getting put down today. And that's it. Ain't gonna be no more war after that, because everyone's gonna get put down and they're not gonna see no point for war. There's no need for it anymore. Because war is just stupid. You can't war against the angels and the Awashai. It's dumb. So they're just gonna give up, man. Right? It's 2 Ezra chapter 13, verse 3 said, "I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven." Okay, the same account, different book, right? But same prophecy concerning Yahweh Shai and the angels, right? So he waxed strong with the thousands of heavens, his angels, right? And when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that were seen under him, because he's bringing fear, right? Their countenance is going to be terrible to look upon, And like I said, even this idea that, what he calls the aliens, right? Even just knowing that they're tall, dark, so-called black men is scary for Esau, because he knows he knows his own history and what he's done to these so-called blacks, right? And the natives, and he knows what he's done. And to know that, God is not like them. He's not white, he's not a leper, right? To know that you persecute people because of the color of their skin and shit, bro. It's like, you feeling hot in it. You're feeling hot under the collar, man. You feeling shit. they know what we've done to people that look like them, right? And we thought we were superior, and you're about to get your ass kicked, right? You're about to go through hell, man, because these guys are not gonna let you off, man. So it's scary for you to even just know that they're so-called black people, dark-skinned people, bro. It's scary, And God's not like us. You know what I mean? Just to know that, it'll fuck you up. You know? We have black people in slavery and shit. Yeah, that's gonna fuck you up knowing you did all that. And that's what these aliens, what he's saying, look like. Right? So yeah, you man's already fucked up in the spirit. Right? But it's deeper than just, the color of the skin. There's a whole lot more behind all of that. But, but back here it says, verse 4 said, whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. Okay, so the armies, the militaries that are left from the World War III, right, gonna gather themselves together, right, and to face a common enemy. Okay, being Yahushai. Like they show you in the movies Independence Day and whatever, right? The whole world, China, every man, Russia, they'll join forces together because they have an extension, an outside threat, right? And so they're gonna come and face Yahushai and the angels, right, to save their world, right? Have to save the world from who? Well, you're gonna save the world from Yahushai. It's his world, So you're gonna face him, right? But you're gonna be scared as hell. Right? So, but I beheld, and lo, and he graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. Because Yahushua was on a huge chariot. Right? But I would have seen the region or place whereat the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, yet durst fight. Right? And so the Most High is going to put the spirit on them to confront Yahushua anyway. Even though they don't want to be there. Right? They ain't going to want to be there in the presence of the angels and the Lord. The aura, the intensity of that aura is going to break man up, man. It's going to have them bugging out crazy, man. They're going to be so afraid. Right? But the spirit, like I said, that like the Most High hardened Pharaoh's heart to go against, the things that Moses was telling him. Right? The Most High going to make their heart hardened, man, and go face Yahushua regardless, knowing that it was suicide. Right? Verse 9 said, lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. Right? It's not no conventional fight. He ain't got to fight you like, Bro, he got power, and he's going to show you it. But all I saw that he sent out of his mouth, as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. Like some next powered laser beam, man. You know what I mean? Key energy type activity. Right, and just gonna roast man, right? And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight. Oh, but I thought Jesus Christ he's not a violent man, bro. Jesus might not be, but Yahushua is a violent man, right? He come into war, right? Scripture say the Most High is a man of war, and this Sunday is no different. Right, he's coming to do a job, and best believe he's going to come and do the will of his Father, like he's always done. Right, so he's going to come and bring violence upon his enemies, which are our enemies. So that's good for us, right? So then fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight. They turned up, right? They turned up and burned them up, every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. It was just terrible destruction, man. Like, effortless. And so when you see that, for all this technology that the so-called white man's got and he prides himself in, and the world looks up to him in that regard, that all this technology that exists because he's brought it into being or whatever, it's gonna look like nothing. Right? And so it's gonna what's the word I'm looking for? Like, the benchmark is going to be set by us when we turn up, when the angels in Yahushua turn up. You're going to see the benchmark of power, and understand that your benchmark of power that we currently have right now in terms of nukes and all this different technology is nothing. It is nothing. It might as well be toothpicks, right? And so humanity is going to just understand, like, right, okay, nah, this is next level, right? These men are actually gods. right? These men are actually gods, not pretending gods, with some funky technology, right? No, these men are actually gods, right? As they are, as we are, right? We're not the capital G God. No, the Most High is the Most High, but we are the lowercase G gods underneath. We are gods that were made, right? And a god is different from a regular man, far different, right? So the power that Yahweh Shai and the angel are going to establish is just going to be unsurmountable, and that's the conclusion that these nations are going to come to, right? That's why you go into slavery. It's not going to be a hard thing. It's not going to take very long to line you man up and put chains on you. It ain't going to take long, because there's no real resisting. What are you going to resist with? Your puny muscles, the flesh. Flesh that can be taken out by various munitions on the earth right now. The flesh is nothing. Flesh is fragile, man. Any bullet could take a man out, but your puny muscles ain't. What are you gonna do against the angels? Nothing. So you're just gonna get in order. You're just gonna get in order, man. No one's gonna care how much you bench press, right? How much you deadlift. Ain't no one caring about that, because it ain't gonna do nothing. Ain't gonna do nothing for you, man. None of Esau's technology could do anything for him. So what's left is nothing. And so you're gonna understand this. Like, not even Esau's and all these military and all these technology couldn't do shit. So what the fuck are we gonna do when we just see the armies of the world obliterated? Nothing. You're just gonna accept that, wow, God is judging us, man, and we have to go into slavery. That's it. Some of you gonna get chucked in the fire, but that's what it is, right? Just one last one for close out. This is Second Esdras. No, that's not. That's not my one. Zechariah 5, right, verse 1. And I turned and lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. Okay, this is describing the chariot, right? This flying roll. The man was talking about cylindrical. How did he put it? Cylindrical UFOs, right? He's talking about cylindrical. Well, scroll cylindrical, right? He said to me, "What seest thou?" And I answered, "I see a flying roll, and the length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits." Then said he unto me, "This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth." Right. So he's writing. Well, he alluded to the fact that some of these things are not friendly. None of them are really friendly, right? But some of them, they're on a mission. They're not here to do damage to anything, right? At this point in time, because they're doing other stuff, right? It's not the time to bring down, Esau's kingdom. So they're just going about their business. Esau's trying to catch them, chase them down, shoot them, and that kind of stuff. And had no joy. These men are talking about Roswell and Area, 52 and shit. Oh, we shot one down. You ain't shoot shit down, right? You ain't shot shit down, man. Right, but so Esau's seeing these things, but these things are not good news. They're not good news for Esau and his kingdom, and for the peoples of the world. Right, these are part of your judgment. Right, so when it's time for them to attack, when Yahweh Shai comes, because that's what everyone's waiting for. Everyone's waiting for the Most High to give Yahweh Shai the go, and they're gonna ride. Yahweh Shai and the angels are gonna come ride and take every man out, every nation out. Right, and gather up his saints who are going to be transformed and become part of his army. Right, we're just all waiting for that time. We're waiting for the green light. Yahweh Shai is waiting for the green light. The angels are waiting for Yahweh Shai's order. Everything has to be in its order. We're just waiting, right? So the angels are out there doing their missions or whatever, but the time to attack it isn't now, right? So we're all just waiting, but when it's time to turn up, man, these men are going to turn up, right? Yahweh Shai and the heavenly host. Okay, so these things are not good news, right? So it is a curse. Then said he unto me, "This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For everyone that stealeth shall be cut off as on this side according to it. And we know Esau's the great thief. Stolen every damn thing. Still stealing every damn thing. Right? Shall be cut off as on this side according to it, and everyone that sweareth shall be cut off as on that side according to it. And I will bring it forth, saith the Lord of hosts, Yahweh, and it shall enter into the house of the thief, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof. Right? America is going to get blazed up. All right, and the angels are going to help with that. All right. So yeah, the angels are nothing to play with, man. These things are not aliens, but they are dark skinned. They are so-called black and tall, right, and mighty looking. Yeah, with a look of conquerors about them. Say that again. I'll read this part again. Bergeron describes the beings that exited the craft as a black race of extraterrestrials around 7 feet tall, muscular, looking hench, ripped, and with the bearing of a warrior class. Yeah, that's right. Right? They had the look of conquerors who had never been conquered. He stated in a rare interview, there was a kind of arrogance in their walk. They were not greys, nor little green men. These were beings of power. Yeah, that's right. Okay, that's completely right. Beings of power, for real. All right. But I'm gonna end it there. Lord, this has been edifying, and I'll catch you brothers and sisters on the next video. Until next time, I say shalom.